Hi, Brigham. How are you today? How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good. It's been a little bit since I've seen you.
Yeah, long time no see.
Yeah. So I'm curious, if you had any time to work on anything since I saw you last.
Well, it's definitely been a very busy month. Uh, hence why it's been so great. Hence why it's been so long. Um, I did work on just what we did last time, which was the like it was like the half narrated, half not kind of like where it's like just talking about someone's thoughts. Um, and you had I didn't uh, have a chance to record each one twice. Um, oh wait, no, that was for a different. I'm looking at a different one. Uh, oh, I didn't have a chance to record it in three different ways, but I did try switching it up a little bit, like you told me to, with
Mhm.
different circumstances. This is like the whole
Yeah.
3 a.m. monologue.
Hmm.
Um, um, yeah, so I did try that. Um, um, but yeah, that was the main thing that I worked on.
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance to really go back to anything previous, but
Hmm. Okay.
um, that's what I worked on.
Yeah, sure. All right. So, okay. So what would you say would be a good goal for today then?
I would say maybe let's start with maybe getting this one to a point that I where I like it,
Yeah.
um, and and it has been a little bit since I've actually gone through it, so I want to make sure that it actually is more
Okay.
more set. Um, so maybe that's a good one to start with. Then just depending on what else you have time for.
Sure. Okay. Great. So, yeah. So do you want to just dive right in and I can hear a little bit and then we'll go from there?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. You want to just hear like you said, just like a little piece of it, or
Sure. Yeah.
okay, I'll do the first paragraph. Here, I'll
Okay.
post it in the thing. Oh, the things that are italicized or bolded, that's stuff that I
Oh,
italicized and bolded on my end. Sorry
okay.
about that. Okay. 3 in the morning, thought Charles Holloway. It's a special hour. Women never wake then, do they? They sleep the sleep of babes and children, but men in middle age, they know that hour well. Oh God, midnight's not bad. You wake and go back to sleep. 1 or 2's not bad. You toss, but sleep again. 5 or 6 in the morning, there's hope, for dawn's just under the horizon. But three, now, 3 a.m. Doctors say the body's at low tide then. The soul is out. The blood moves slow. You're the nearest to dead you'll ever be, save dying.
Okay. All right. So what do you think of that?
Um, it, I felt like it kind of took me a little bit to get into it, but then I felt like I kind of fell into a groove halfway through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay. So what was kind of the sound that you landed on?
Um, it was kind of a, it was kind of like still kind of like my narrator voice, but just a little bit
Hmm.
more tired.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit more gritty, kind of a worn kind of a feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like that is sustainable, that you feel like you could keep that?
I for for the duration of this, I feel like I could, but like
Yeah.
I also want to make sure that like it doesn't contrast too much with the
Hmm.
normal narration voice.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it's still the narrator.
Right.
It's just the narrator saying what he's thinking.
Sure.
Um, yeah, which is why like I feel like I said that maybe might have said that, I remember saying this maybe last time, but like I feel like I need to take more advantage of that like thought Charles Halloway, like
Mm-hmm.
to offer a little bit of that contrast and do that, make it a so that there's a contrast, but also ensure that there is that smooth transition.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Yeah. Okay. Good. Um, so then, hmm. So then what would you say if you were going to say your favorite thing about this last time through, what is that? And then if you picked one thing to adjust, what would you tweak?
I think my favorite thing was probably like where I kind of the groove that I kind of fell into. I felt like it might have been a little slow for narration, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
Um, but I felt like the voice was good.
Hmm.
Um, if but the thing I wanted to improve, I think, is definitely that first half when I was still
Yeah.
taking a bit to get into it, and also maybe just yeah the speed, making sure that it is still narrator speed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So then let's go ahead and try that again.
Okay, 3 in the morning, thought Charles Halloway. It's a special hour. Women never wake then, do they? They sleep they sleep the sleep of babes and children, but men in middle age, they know that hour well. Oh God, midnight's not bad. You wake and go back to sleep. 1 or 2's not bad. You toss, but sleep again. 5 or 6 in the morning, there's hope, for dawn's just under the horizon. But 3 now, 3 a.m. Doctors say the body's at low tide then. The soul is out. The blood moves slow. You're the nearest to dead you'll ever be, save dying.
Okay. All right. So what do you think of that time through?
I felt like that was better. I felt like that was definitely better.
Good. I did too. Um, yeah, I felt like it was a little more consistent
Mm-hmm.
throughout, was one thing I really liked about it. What was your favorite thing about it?
I was gonna say the same thing. Yeah, it's like I felt like it kept the same voice throughout.
Mm,
Um, and um, and I felt like I didn't. I felt like I did. I was able to kind of like do that smooth transition from just that first sentence that
mhm,
3 in the morning, thought Charles Alloway. It's a special hour. Where it was like it could still be the narrator talking, but it's like, you know,
mhm.
um, and I felt like the pacing was a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. Good. Is there anything you'd want to change about it?
Um, I would say probably just like a little more nitpicky things. Like maybe I could have emphasized this word a little bit more than that word, or
Okay.
um,
Yeah. It's a little more nuance to it.
yeah,
Thinking a little bit more about like the points of view. thinking
Yeah,
about things like which words do we feel like are the most important to emphasize. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Like even just that last sentence, I was like, you're the nearest to dead you'll ever be, save dying.
hmm,
I was like, I should have emphasized it more like kind of, or as like a save dying instead of like save
yeah.
dying, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and try that again with having those strong points of view and giving those descriptive words, those active words, the people, places, and things um, more perspective.
Okay. 3 in the morning, thought Charles Holloway. It's a special hour. Women never wake then, do they? They sleep the sleep of babes and children, but men in middle age, they know that hour well. Oh God, midnight's not bad. You wake and go back to sleep. 1 or 2's not bad. You toss but sleep again. 5 or 6 in the morning, there's hope, for dawn's just under the horizon. But 3 now, 3 a.m. Doctors say the body's at low tide then. The soul is out. The blood moves slow. You're the nearest to dead you'll ever be, save dying.
Nice. Awesome. So how did that feel?
I feel like that was probably the best one so far.
Yeah, I think so too. So what was maybe your favorite part of it and why?
Um, Again, I'm glad that I kept the pacing at I felt like the pacing was a good speed. Um, and it maintained that consistency, and I was able to actually clear up the emphasize the things that I wanted to. And also I feel like I was able to catch myself whenever I was starting to kind of fall into that rut of just you know blah, 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 and actually going going up and down a little bit more,
Yeah.
um, which is good. So
Mhm. Nice. Awesome. Okay. So anything that you'd want to change if we did it one more time?
um, maybe make it a little bit more consistent in having a little bit more of that range and not having to catch myself when I fall into those ruts.
Okay.
Um,
Sure.
yeah. Anything that you would specifically?
I think that sounds good. Yeah. That sounds like um a good goal for this last time through. So let's try it.
Okay, cool. 3 in the morning, thought Charles Holloway. It's a special hour. Women never wake then, do they? They sleep the sleep of babes and children, but men in middle age, they know that hour well. Oh God, midnight's not bad. You wake and go back to sleep. 1 or 2's not bad. You toss but sleep again. 5 or 6 in the morning, there's hope, for dawn's just under the horizon. But 3 now, 3 a.m. Doctors say the body is at low tide then. The soul is out. The blood moves slow. You're the nearest to dead you'll ever be, save dying.
Okay. Yeah. So what did you think of that time through?
Felt like that was good.
It felt a little more dramatic to me.
Yeah, yeah. And part of me is like, okay, if I were to be narrating a book, do I want to be dramatic the entire time? But then I was just like, well, maybe certain points in the book, it's
Mhm.
okay for the narrator to
Yeah.
sound a bit more dramatic.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you are in the book and what's happening. I think the narrator sets the tone for where you are in the story or where you are in that journey. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's different when you're narrating someone's thoughts as opposed to saying, they opened the door, they walked in, it's
Hmm.
just like,
Yeah, exactly. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Okay. So, and the thing is, I think it's valuable to try the different things, even if you end up deciding something else
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
end.
no, for
So,
sure.
yeah. Nice. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do you want to try like the next section of it? What do you think?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's try the next section.
All right.
Sleep is a patch of death. Let me try that again. Sleep. Sleep is a patch of death, but 3 in the morn, full wide-eyed staring, is living death. You dream with your eyes open. If you had strength to rouse up, you'd slaughter your half dreams with buckshot. But no, you lie pinned to a deep well bottom that's burned dry. The moon rolls by to look at you down there with its idiot face. It's a long way back to sunset, or far away on to dawn. So you summon all the fool things of your life, the stupid, lovely things done with people known so very well, who are now so very dead. And wasn't it true? Had you read it somewhere? More people in hospitals die at 3 a.m. than at any other time.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think of that? I know
You
it's
could
just
tell it
the
was my,
first time through
you could tell it
it.
was my first time through.
That's okay. So what was good about it?
um, well, kind of like with the last time, I feel like halfway through, I kind of started to get into a groove. Uh,
Sure. Yeah.
Not as solid as one that I would like, but
Hmm.
um, but I mean, I do feel like it. I wasn't just stumbling through the entire thing,
Hmm.
so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you were going to give yourself maybe one thing in particular that you feel like could level it up, what would that be?
Um, the I think what kind of comes to mind is just like the word that comes to mind is just authenticity. Make it
Okay.
sound make it sound like I'm not reading something. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
I agree with that.
yeah, which wasn't just because it was my first time through. It's just like I feel like I might be getting a little bit too much into that little bit of groove
Right.
that it's like
Uh-huh.
starting to it doesn't sound like
Yeah.
me talking anymore. It sounds more
Hmm.
like I'm reading something, maybe reading
Right.
it dramatically, but but it sounds like I'm reading it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Um, I was gonna say maybe this next time through, really think about the phrasing,
Mhm.
where you have shorter and longer phrases, where you're gonna place your breaths, embracing any punctuation and pauses dramatically, that kind of thing. Okay?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, let's try it again.
cool. I also just want to make sure that like I think in doing that, I want to make sure that it sounds kind of like thinking, that it sounds like thinking,
Hmm.
like like the way that, like when you think something in your head, like the pacing is very unique. It's a very
Hmm.
there's a certain type of pacing that goes along with just our thoughts,
Yeah.
and I want to be able to capture that. So
Okay.
it's just
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, okay. Sleep is a patch of death, but 3 in the morn, full wide-eyed staring, is living death. You dream with your eyes open. If you had strength to rouse up, you'd slaughter your half dreams with buckshot. But no, you're like pinned to a deep well bottom that's burned dry. The moon rolls by to look at you down there with its idiot face. It's a long way back to sunset, a far way on to dawn. So you summon all the fool things of your life, the stupid, lovely things done with people known so very well who are now so very dead. And wasn't it true? Had he read it somewhere? More people in hospitals die at 3 a.m. than at any other time.
Okay. All right. That was better this time. What did you feel like improved?
Um, I felt like it was a bit more consistent again,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, for sure.
and felt a bit more authentic.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about what I was saying, um, and I felt like I was emphasizing the what was provided for me in terms of punctuation and
Hmm.
phrasing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Um, if you were going to improve it, what would be one thing that you feel like would take it farther?
Um, I felt like kind of that the middle section. I felt like I maybe kind of stumbled a little bit with the pace with
Hmm.
the tone. I think I kind of fell into like a little bit of a rut of like just trying to stay safe because um sometimes I would like I feel like I kind of forgot when the sentence would end or when it would just kind of keep going.
Yeah.
Um
Okay. So making maybe like something that's final feel more final, something that
yeah.
is a continuation feel like a continuation.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's try that.
Okay. Sleep is a patch of death, but 3 in the morn, full wide-eyed staring, is living death. You dream with your eyes open. If you had strength to rouse up, you'd slaughter your half dreams with buckshot. But no, you lie pinned to a deep well bottom that's burned dry. The moon rolls by to look at you down there with its idiot face. It's a long way back to sunset, a far way on to dawn. So you summon all the fool things of your life, the stupid, lovely things done with people known so very well who are now so very dead. And wasn't it true? Had he read it somewhere? More people in hospitals die at 3 a.m. than at any other time.
Yeah, and those little fumbly moments there are no big deal because we just back up and we try it again.
Yeah.
And right now we're just practicing it as well. So, what did you notice that you tweaked?
Um, I felt like, well, I like it definitely didn't sound like I accidentally ended anything prematurely,
Right.
um, which is good.
Yeah.
Um, I let the thoughts finish. Um, I'm I might have done it a little too much maybe in some ways.
Mm.
Um, like the stupid, lovely things done with people known so very well who are now so very dead. And wasn't it
Yeah.
true? Uh, like I made it. I made that sound very, very, very final because of that pause that's kind of inserted there. Um,
Right.
but I still want to. But it should still, probably still sound like a little bit of a continuate, like almost like a thought that occurs to him halfway through his.
Right.
Yeah, that almost interrupts.
Hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Um, so let's try it again.
Okay,
I feel like you're still kind of processing it. So I just want you to try it again.
okay, okay.
Maybe a little bit more pitch variation,
Yeah,
like a little
yeah,
bit of a lilt, like a rise and fall to it.
mhm, yeah. Sleep is a patch of death, but 3 in the morn, full wide-eyed staring, is living death. You dream with your eyes open. If you had strength to rouse up, you'd slaughter your half dreams with buckshot. But no, you lie pinned to a deep well bottom that's burned dry. The moon rolls by to look at you down there with its idiot face. It's a long way back to sunset, a far way on to dawn. So you summon all the fool things in your life, the stupid, lovely things done with people known so very well who are now so very dead. And wasn't it true? Had he read it somewhere? More people in hospitals die at 3 a.m. than at any other time.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that was a lot better. What did you think of it?
Yeah, same, same.
Hmm. Nice. Okay, so then that time, what did you like best?
Um, I felt like I felt like I paused in the right time at the
Hmm.
right times. I felt like I varied the pitch a bit more. Um, it was a lot more dynamic, um, and and again going back, it sounded a lot more authentic. Um, the one thing that was bugging me was I felt like that last phrase, the "and wasn't it true?" I felt like I did it really well last time, and this time I
Yeah.
still did. It didn't feel like I was like, I did it so well. I did it really well last time, but I'm trying to remember like what the nuance was. Um,
Mm, right. That's okay. Sometimes it evolves and grows and changes as you work on it.
yeah,
Um, okay, so I would love to hear there are a lot of words, like contrasting words, like if you say something was like stupid and delightful, you know what I mean? Like there's some contrasting
yeah.
descriptions here, and I would love to hear you play those up a little bit more.
Okay, let me see. Just make marking those.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. Sleep is a patch of death, but 3 in the morn, full wide-eyed staring, is living death. You dream with your eyes open. If you had strength to rouse up, you'd slaughter your half dreams with buckshot. But no, you lie pinned to a deep well bottom that's burned dry. The moon rolls by to look at you down there with its idiot face. It's a long way back to sunset, far way on to dawn. It's a long way back to sunset, a far way on to dawn. So you summon all the fool things of your life, the stupid, lovely things done with people known so very well who are now so very dead. And wasn't it true? Had he read it somewhere? More people in hospitals die at 3 a.m. than at any other time.
Okay. All right. So, what did you like about that?
I that was really good, like especially because I was actually a bit more aware of it. Like I didn't realize, like I was aware of like a few of the contrasts, but I didn't notice that there
Hmm.
was quite a bit more than I realized. And it adds a lot to emphasize them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Nice. Awesome. All right. So, was there anything that you would want to change about it?
Um, I mean, if I went through it again, I'd probably maybe it wouldn't obviously wouldn't be the exact same way, but uh, and I feel like there may be a couple things that I feel like just nuance again.
Yeah.
Um, but but nothing like super specific.
Hmm.
Um, aside from the yeah, making sure to actually nail those contrasts. But,
Yeah. Okay.
but yeah, but overall, I'd say I liked it.
Yeah. Do you want to try the first chunk going into this chunk?
Sure.
All right.
Okay. Okay. 3 in the morning, thought Charles Halloway. It's a special hour. Women never wake then, do they? They sleep the sleep of babes and children, but men in middle age, they know that hour well. Oh God, midnight's not bad. You wake and go back to sleep. 1 or 2's not bad. You toss and but sleep again. 5 or 6 in the morning, there's hope, for dawn's just under the horizon. But 3 now, 3 a.m. Doctors say the body is at low tide then. The soul is out. The blood moves slow. You're the nearest to dead you'll ever be, save dying. Sleep is a patch of death, but 3 in the morn, full wide-eyed staring, is living death. You dream with your eyes open. If you had strength to rouse up, you'd slaughter your half dreams with buckshot. But no, you lie pinned to a deep well bottom that's burned dry. The moon rolls by to look at you down there with its idiot face. It's a long way back to sunset, a far way on to dawn. So you summon all the fool things of your life, the stupid, lovely things done with people known so very well, who are now so very dead. And wasn't it true? Had he read it somewhere? More people in hospitals die at 3 a.m. than at any other time.
Okay. Nice. Did you feel like being able to transition from the first part into it helped?
Yes.
I thought it might. Yeah, that's why I had you try that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
was awesome.
So, how do you feel about it overall?
Good. Good. A lot better than I was expecting it to be.
Nice. Good. Awesome. What was your favorite thing about it?
Um it all felt sincere.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So, I thought so too. Yeah. So, how did you get to that?
Um well, I feel like it's always kind of a similar progression. It's always like becoming really familiar with it. Like
Hmm.
I feel like no matter how many times you go through it, like like you've gone through it in the past, like when you're going to go through it again, like you're going to need to read through it out loud, maybe
Hmm.
a couple times before, so you can really get into it. Um, and then, um, and then keeping it, and then finding consistency is usually the second thing. Um, and with both, that was what I kind of worked on first was making sure that it was consistent. And uh, third was um, then, you know, uh, really putting finding that emphasis on dynamics,
Hmm.
um, and whether it's with the pacing or with the range, um, and then lastly, it's really emphasizing you know the nuances, the actual text itself, the
Yeah.
which words to emphasize in each phrase, and stuff like that. So it did
Nice.
feel very step
Yeah.
by step.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And so if you were gonna maybe try, um, so I know we talked before about how the narrator might sound a little bit different at different points. Is there another point that we could look at where we could tweak the narrator voice, like that something very contrasting emotionally is happening or a very different situation there?
Um, let me, well, one thing that's interesting is that at the very end of that paragraph,
Hmm.
the very next sentence is his wife smiled in her sleep.
Yeah.
And then it goes back into his thoughts and it goes, why?
Mm.
And he keeps going. Um, it's like there's one for I guess one to kind of I guess maybe bookend that little thing because there's the thought Charles Holloway at the very beginning and the his wife smiled in her sleep at the very
Hmm.
end. Um, so that would be one. Um, I think and like I'm trying to think like as I'm kind of scrolling through um, this book. Um, um, there was one other part that did kind of stand out to me. That
Okay.
I thought was just interesting and just like think of like how I would personally narrate it.
Yeah.
Um, and and it's kind of an interesting choice on like part of the author because basically there's like this really intense chapter where there's a lot going on and it's all in the middle of the night and
Yeah.
there's a lot going on and it's really intense um, but then he has this one random chapter like when that finally reaches an end there's a chapter that's literally just one sentence and it's just like um, nothing much else happened the rest of that night
Right.
and that's the end of the chapter. It's just
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
and and it was and also like I feel like it you know I've never really practiced the whole like chapter this chapter this
Mm. Right. Okay. Yeah, so that might be a good thing for us to work on. I think there should always be a pause. If you have like headline and then you pause, by this person, and then you pause. Chapter one, pause. Right. So there should always be this pause that I think we tend to feel like we should rush through, but it helps our listener to process that this is one bullet point, right? And here's another, and here's another. Yeah.
yeah yeah no absolutely actually here I just found it
Great. Okay. So it could be like chapter one, the beginning. Sarah sat at her kitchen table, right?
yeah
So there's that pause between each chunk there. Just like if you pause before dialogue, right? Or after dialogue. Sarah sat at her kitchen table reading the morning newspaper, sipping her coffee. Her daughter ran in and shouted, Mama, look! And then you pause. Sarah turned to see what her daughter held. Oh, honey, that picture is beautiful. Pause,
um,
right? So you have to pause between each of those things. So same thing when you have things like the title of the book, the author name, the chapter titles.
yeah okay that makes sense so just really making sure to give yourself time to
Exactly. Don't feel like you have to rush. Especially with narration, it's a lot more laid back. Commercials tend to be faster. Characters, it varies. But narration tends to always be a little bit slower than you instinctively think it should be.
yeah okay here yeah. think that's a good like example.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay, cool. Um, let me just start reading through it once. Okay.
great.
For a long while, Will could not move. Buoyed in the tree branches, afraid he might slip through and kill himself on the black earth below, he waited for the sledgehammer to subside in his head. The blows of his heart might jar him loose, crash him down, but he was glad to hear them, know himself alive. But then at last, gone calm, he gathered his limbs, most carefully searched for a prayer, and climbed himself down through the tree. Chapter 31. Nothing much else happened all the rest of that night. Chapter 32. At dawn, a juggernaut of thunder wheeled over the stony heavens in a spark throwing tumult.
Yeah, so how are you
Yeah.
feeling about those chunks there?
Um,
Does it feel really awkward? Does it feel good?
it feels a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You could probably tell that it felt a little bit awkward. Um,
It just is unusual, right? And so it's
mhm.
like, this feels strange. Am I doing this right? We question that, in
Yeah,
ourselves. We're like, is this right?
yeah,
But yeah, I think you can trust your instincts there and just like be like, okay, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. So that's what I'm gonna do.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And it is very effective. I feel like it is very effective considering like the
yeah.
context. Like,
Hmm.
that everything before this was really intense, and then just to have this chapter almost to give the reader or listener a chance
Yeah.
to catch their breath um, before moving on. Um,
Right.
so maybe if I just kind of lean a bit more into it, into kind of that
Yeah.
that feeling of like,
Mhm.
okay,
And remember too, if it's too much of a pause or too little, you can always
we
adjust
can always
that
go,
in the
go ahead
editing. So
yeah,
it's not a
cut it
big
out.
deal. We can always change it later. So never feel like you have to go, rushing through because you've got time and you can always tweak it after the fact.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you, whenever you are doing a narration,
Mhm.
and let's say it's for something that's like fiction, do you find
Yeah.
yourself changing, like, kind of maintaining the same tone, like when you say chapter this, do you like
Hmm.
continue like in this? Do you say it in the same tone of like how probably the reader is feeling at that moment, or the tone of the book at that point in the story, or do you usually take a step back
Yeah. I
and
I
say it
try
more?
to make it um like guide the reader kind of. So like I like to have my narrator voice kind of guide them to the general feeling of what like should be for that section, if that makes sense. To kind of help them to sense, you know, where we're at in things in the book, if that makes sense.
Mm. So it's more, so it's not really a continuing from where you left off. It's more setting the tone of
Yeah, I'm setting the
what's
tone.
about to
That's a
happen.
good way to say it. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm setting the tone. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, so you're setting the tone. It's I've had people ask me, they're like, but aren't I just supposed to like read the words off the page and not really like add any of my own personal da da da? And I'm like, no, you are the voice of the author. You are creating that world.
Yeah.
If authors could do that for themselves, then they would, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that
So
includes things like chapter one, chapter two,
exactly. Yeah.
three,
Right. And I never want my saying like chapter one, chapter two, I don't want that to take them out of the story. I don't want that to be distracting. I always want it to be cohesive and to feel like it's, contributing and furthering the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like sometimes I'll listen to audiobooks and it's kind of jarring Um, I know that the top of a chapter is a change, right? Like time has passed
Mhm.
from the last to that chapter usually. Um, but I always want it to feel like it's, setting the stage. So yeah, it's you're giving context, you're giving the ambiance, you're creating that world for them. And I want it to feel like it's furthering that world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that helps.
Yeah, and a lot of the time people will stop um at a point where it makes sense in the story and maybe they start at the beginning of a chapter or something when they come back to it. So, keeping that in mind too. Sometimes sometimes authors will say like, "Hey, for the audiobook version, let's just leave the like chapter 1 and the title of the chapter out," but sometimes they'll have you do it. So I think having practiced both ways is
Mhm.
helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah, that really
Great.
helps.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this again.
Yeah.
For a long while, Will could not move. Buoyed in the tree branches, afraid he might slip through and kill himself on the black earth below, he waited for the sledgehammer to subside in his head. The blows of his heart might jar him loose, crash him down, but he was glad to hear them, know himself alive. But then at last, gone calm, he gathered his limbs, most carefully searched for a prayer, and climbed himself down through the tree. Chapter 31. Nothing much else happened all the rest of that night. Chapter 32. At dawn, a juggernaut of thunder wheeled over the stony heavens in a spark throwing tumult.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that?
A
I
lot
think that's
better.
a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so if you're going to tell somebody how to do what you just did, if they were like, okay, so how do I do that? How would you describe what you just did there to change that?
Um, I would probably say like um, maybe like just like try to narrate it in a do it in a way that still reflects um, the heart, like the reader's heartbeat at that moment,
Hmm.
at this point.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, because like as this
Like
intense
with the
chapter is wrapping up,
pacing, if it's more
yeah,
intense, it would be a little bit faster. If it's more laid back,
yeah,
then it would be a little bit slower.
yeah. And at this
Yeah.
point, it's like this intense chapter is starting to wrap up, and so the reader's heart is naturally starting to slow down a little bit um,
Mm.
as he's climbing down from this tree. Like they know, like okay, so
Yeah.
it sounds like everything is okay. And then chapter 31
Yeah.
is still kind of maintaining a little bit of that intensity, but a little bit more calm. And it's like that. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Nothing much else happened all the rest of that night.
Right. Yeah.
Chapter
Nice.
32. It's a new day.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that. That's a really beautiful way to describe that. I love that. So is there anything that you noticed that you were like, oh, I feel like I could have done that a little bit better. I think if I did it again, I would tweak this a little bit.
Um, I I feel like I don't know if it was because of the pauses or maybe just like the structures of the sentences. I feel like
Hmm.
my breath could have been
Hmm.
in my voice could have been a little bit better because there were times where where my voice kind of I felt like kind of gave out a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
and um, maybe maybe just because of the change in pacing.
Sure.
Um, but but I feel like that's something that could have been improved.
Sure, yeah. So paying a little bit more attention to lengths of phrases, how much air do I need for this particular phrase? The goal is that we use up our air so that by the next phrase we need to take a breath before it so that we're not tanking up. But like you're saying, we don't also want to be like fizzling out by the end. We want to have enough air that we can support through the end of the phrase. So it's almost like in singing, you have to plan out, okay, here's a phrase, and then I take a breath. And how long is that phrase? Do I have any high notes, and knowing
Mhm.
how much air you need to get through it. Same kind of thing here that you can kind of plan accordingly. And sometimes you'll have really long phrases, and sometimes you have really short phrases. And so you maybe took a really big breath before a really short phrase, and you're like, what do I do now? Or you took just a little sip of breath, and then you have a really long phrase. So maybe you have to like sneak in an extra breath somewhere. Um, so yeah, so practicing it, you can identify how long each phrase is because it is going to vary. It's not going to be the same. A lot of the time in songs, like for instance, in a hymn or a folk song, a lot of the time you have the same lengths of phrases over and over again. Whereas more complex songs might have varying lengths, right? Um,
Right.
so with a book, though, if you were doing poetry, it might be consistent lengths of phrases. If you're reading a Shakespeare, you know, a monologue, then maybe
Yeah.
it's the same lengths of phrases. But when you have a book, it's going to vary,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Right. Right. You don't need to worry about ending on a certain beat, or following a certain,
Right,
yeah, rhythm.
exactly. Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, so let's try that again, planning out the lengths of phrases and, you know, the patterns, paying attention to those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Let's try it.
For a long while, Will could not move. Buoyed in the tree branches, afraid he might slip through and kill himself on the black earth below, he waited for the sledgehammer to subside in his head. The blows of his heart might jar him loose, crash him down, but he was glad to hear them, know himself alive. But then at last, gone calm, he gathered his limbs, most carefully searched for a prayer, and climbed himself down through the tree, through the tree. Can I try it again?
Yeah, let's do it.
For a long while, Will could not move. Buoyed in the tree branches, afraid he might slip through and kill himself on the black earth below, he waited for the sledgehammer to subside in his head. The blows of his heart might jar him loose, crash him down, but he was glad to hear them, know himself alive. But then at last, gone calm, he gathered his limbs, most carefully searched for a prayer, and climbed himself down through the tree. Chapter 31. Nothing much else happened all the rest of that night. Chapter 32. At dawn, a juggernaut of thunder wheeled over the stony heavens in a spark throwing tumult. Mhm.
Nice. Okay, good. Did you feel better about that?
Yes, yes,
What's great too is that, if you do a phrase and you go, I don't really like that, you can just take a breath and redo it.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, awesome. So, if you gave yourself maybe the number one key takeaway from this section of what we did, what would that be?
Um, hmm. um, well, it's kind of half and half. Like I feel like a lot of it is kind of like what I said before of like, you know, going kind of in tune with the heart, with how fast the reader's heart is going, or the listener's heart is going, um, and just kind of going in. rhythm with that in terms of like the phrasing and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but then also just like kind of like you said, just like taking your time, give taking a pause when you need to, um, and letting yourself breathe through it,
Hmm.
um, so that it's more smooth.
Right. Yeah. Love that. Awesome. So quite a few good takeaways there.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Okay, so mm, if you were going to set, based on what we did today, a goal for yourself over the next week or so, what would that be?
Hmm. Maybe find another section of this book where that has some of maybe all these things kind of combined, and make sure that it's consistent, that I do all the things that we talked about. Because like part of me was wondering do I even sound like the same narrator at this point than I was
Mm.
like with the first section? Um,
Ah, did
um,
you not feel like you did, or were you just kind of second guessing yourself?
it was mostly second guessing. It was mostly second
Ah.
guessing. Um, but I think I'd like to find a part that kind of incorporates all of these
Mm.
and find something that just kind of like and just get to a point where it feels smooth. And
Hmm. Yeah, does it still feel kind of like labored or like you have to really think about it and you're kind of like second guessing yourself
a
and
little bit,
having to
yeah,
make choices all the time and kind of like
yeah,
on your toes and you want to
yeah,
see if you can get it to where it feels like it just kind of flows a little bit better.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that right now it's like, oh, I have to really focus on it to get
Mm,
it. Like, yeah, it doesn't
yeah,
feel like
every single
second
word,
nature
every
yet. It's
phrase,
gonna
it's just like,
take some
ugh,
practice.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that's pretty normal.
that's good.
Yeah. So then, yeah, so then do you want to try to do any recording during the next week or so? Do you want to
I really want
try?
to because have been terrible about that, and I really want to.
Yeah, I think even if you did something like, take your phone and like record a voice memo and just listen back. I mean, just that practice of recording yourself and then listening to what you did and giving yourself some honest feedback about what you liked and what you didn't like and where you feel like you maybe paused too long and where you felt like maybe you were a little too dramatic and where you felt like you really liked the flow of it, oh, that breath was a little awkward there, oh, I should have leaned into that word and emphasized it a little bit more, or oh, that sounded a little monotone, and then you go back and try it again. I think that can be just a really important skill, but also just an important practice to record yourself and be able to listen back and give yourself that honest feedback and then adjust something and record it again and then listen to that and go, do I feel like I can hear a difference? I think that would be a great thing to add into your practice.
Okay,
So even if it's not to use for something, just doing it can be a really helpful practice for
getting into
you
that
to
habit.
grow as a narrator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think it would be great to find maybe a section that also has some dialogue that you can
Hmm.
work with as well, just to, layer in an additional thing to give you a little bit more of a challenge.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Are you planning on doing any auditions for anything or trying to put together more variety of clips to put on any profiles or anything like that?
So when I was first um, starting to assemble clips,
Yeah.
definitely I feel like I've grown a lot since then, and
Hmm.
now I don't like any of my clips. So
Oh, right, your old ones. You're like, I feel like I've grown so much, and these
yeah,
don't really
and I
showcase
feel
where
like
I'm
these are
at
actually yeah,
now.
I feel like these are actually doing more harm than good. Yeah,
Right. That you're like, I've come so far.
yeah. So I think I just need to kind of maybe kind of almost hit the reset button in terms of like
Yeah.
the things I'm putting together, the clips that I have. Um,
Yeah.
and it has been a while, like I said, since I've actually sat and recorded something as like for a clip, an official clip. Um,
Yeah.
so I do want to start um, assembling new ones. Um,
Okay.
and I know it's always that's always what like
Yeah,
recording clips
I
is
think
always the
it's
last thing that I do. So even if it's just one clip, that'd be
right. I think it's something that is kind of a an ongoing thing. You're always going to be growing and changing, and your voice is part of you. So as you grow as a person, your voice is going to grow as well. So I feel like it can be something that is, um, can be more of like an ongoing growth thing. So I challenge you to not necessarily judge yourself too harshly, um, but instead to go, okay, I can see how far I've come and how I've grown, and this just showcases all that I've come through, and that
yeah,
you've grown through so many different things, right? So,
yeah,
yeah, just kind of embracing the whole journey and going, I'm not going to judge my old self too harshly because, this is part of my journey and it's part of where I'm going.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Also, I was wondering, I know that you at least I know that you record these
Yeah.
lessons.
Yeah.
Is there a way that I have access to them?
Yeah. Yeah. I can send you a link to it. Yeah.
Okay, that would be really helpful too.
Perfect. Great. Yeah, I'll do that. Absolutely. Awesome. All right. I will do that for you so that you can go back and review all of it.
Sweet, sweet. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, well, you have a wonderful rest of your week. I'm looking forward to hearing more as we continue. I definitely heard some good growth today, so keep up the great
Yay.
work, and I look forward to hearing more soon. All
Wonderful. Awesome. Thanks so much,
right, bye,
Mandy.
Brigham. Have a good night.